The First Law of Magic, Chapter 3, Part 3.
Do lunar pegasi drink blood?
She suddenly asked. The blunt question made the doctor stop and blink owlishly a few times.
What?
He scratched the back of his neck with a hoof.
Well, I suppose we can, though it's not like vampires or anything. We can digest complex proteins found in blood and meat, but we are still mainly herbivores. Do the beings out there think we drink blood?
Twilight blushed.
Maybe? There are a lot of myths floating around, and it's hard to separate facts from 1,000 years of fiction. Never mind the fact that there aren't any lunar pegasi in Canterlot, so it's not like I could just ask some pony on the street.
The stallion merely grunted at that, and moved back to finishing his work, his demeanor dampening slightly as he focused more attention at the task at hoof. However, Twilight soldiered on, undeterred by the change in atmosphere.
Are lunar pegasi purely nocturnal? Though more trouble than it's worth, we can switch to sleeping during the night if be much akin to other ponies who are traditionally diurnal.
He answered robotically, as if reading from a textbook. Twilight rubbed her chin idly, unaware of the brace that should be painfully tight by now. Fluttershy's ear twitched at the firm sound of another series of clamps being shut around the unicorn's leg.
Do lunar pegasi— Look, I get that you're inquisitive, but there are books on our basic anatomy and history that exists, you know.
Little Hoof snapped, and Twilight gulped.
That's fair.
The mare looked down at her limb, noting the fact that almost all the buckles, belts, and clasps were now secure.
How much longer, Doctor?
At the mention of his official title, the stallion straightened his back slightly, a hint of pride worming its way into his thoughts. He quickly tightened one last belt and secured it in place.
Just need to activate the runes, and then you're ready to go. Just give me a second to go grab someone magically attuned, and I'll have you out of here in a moment.
As the stallion moved towards the door, Twilight glanced down at the brace.
Wait, is it a simple reinforcement and weight distribution matrix?
The lunar pegasi stopped and turned.
Yes, that's what the instruction manual said. Then if it's all the same, I can do that myself. I don't want to take up any more of your time.
The stallion blinked twice. The complexities of the activation runes supposedly necessitated special training and aptitude, and there were only 3 individuals on staff attuned enough with magic to even activate it. So, who was this mare? His questions and confusion doubled when the mare's eyes grew black and her horn became marred by a swirling reverse glow that sucked the light from the area around the mare's horn. After a tense moment, her magical senses receded, her eyes returning to normal, and the unnatural darkness swirling around her horn dissipated. A moment later, the brace clicked and glowed for a second before locking in place, the runes activating perfectly. As if nothing incredibly disturbing had just happened, the unicorn stood up, tested her newly braced leg, and grinned.
Thank you very much for your kindness. I won't forget this, Doctor.
The stallion merely stepped to the side at a loss for words, and suddenly aware of the fact that he did not want to be between her and wherever she may want to go.
Come on, Fluttershy. We'll have to find that zebra that you mentioned.
The bunny got up and yawned.
Sorry for dozing off, Twilight. It seems like Miss Fuzzy Buns was a little more tired than I thought. What did I miss?
The stallion wanted to interrupt and mention the disturbing show of magic, but he thought better of it and kept his mouth shut for now.
Not much. You were only out for maybe a minute.
The unicorn stretched briefly before walking next to the examination table, allowing the small fuzzy creature to hop up on her back. With Fluttershy secure, Twilight walked tentatively to the door, her courage building as the brace did, as it was supposed to. She nodded to the stallion as she walked through the door.
Thanks again, Doctor. You're a lifesaver. Next time I have a moment, I promise to come down and have a chat under nicer circumstances.
The bunny smiled weakly as they passed by, whispering her thanks as well. After the soft clip-clop of hooves that was occasionally interrupted by a more mechanical clack disappeared into the distance, Little Hoof breathed a sigh of relief. He wasn't a magical expert by a long shot, knowing only enough to diagnose the most basic and common of magical afflictions, but the terrible feeling of wrongness that accompanied her show of magic was enough to make him worry.
No, it's not my place to make baseless assumptions. I'll just bring it up with Arcane when she's in later. No reason to get all jittery.
Despite his self-talk, he was doing exactly what he told himself that he had no reason to do, wringing his hooves nervously together as his mind wandered. Absently, he made his way over to the door, and shut it firmly before flopping down onto his office chair and staring off into space. After a few moments, he got his breathing under control, and a minute later, he had finally calmed his racing mind down, and reminded himself to take his anxiety meds when he got off of his shift. With his mind at ease, Little Hoof breathed in a deep lungful of air and glanced at the clock, noticing it was only 10 minutes before his shift was up. He made the executive decision to leave a few minutes early, under the logic that he had been coming in early these past few days anyway. As he stowed his personal effects and quickly got his desk in order, he turned to the door, running a hoof over through his mane and reaching for the knob. A sudden trio of heavy knocks from the other side of the door nearly startled the poor doctor out of his skin, making him leap into the air. He pumped his wings and sent himself across the room before he got a hold of his bearings once more. With fur on ends and wings flared, standing atop the examination table, he called out in a squeaky voice a few octaves higher than normal.
Who is it?
Hey, Little Hoof, it's me, Blue Leaf. Can we come in?
Breathing a sigh of relief, Little Hoof forced his wings to come to rest at his sides.
Door's open. Come on in.
The portal opened to reveal a smiling lunar Pegasus clad in armor, eyeing him with a curious expression.
Did I catch you at a bad time, Doc?
Little Hoof looked at his perch and rolled his eyes, hopping down from the examination table.
No, just startled me is all. Is there something I can help you with?
The guard gave the room a quick once-over and popped his head out into the hall.
All clear. I'll be out in a minute.
Roger that, said a new deeper voice just beyond the door. Little Hoof scratched his leg awkwardly.
Am I in trouble, officers?
Blue Leaf closed the door and turned around, his friendly smile still plastered on his face.
No, just a precaution is all. It's always protocol with Steel Tempest.
The guard pony rolled his eyes and eyed the visitor's chair.
May I?
Little Hoof gestured to the chair and sat in his own.
Of course.
The guard's pony sat.
Thanks. You know, just between you and me, I think it's the name.
Sorry, what?
His name, Steel Tempest. He was doomed to be too serious since the day he was born.
Little Hoof cracked a smile.
With a name like that, I suppose it would be hot if he wasn't a little bit of a hard ass.
Blue Leaf suddenly became serious, his smile fading away. Little Hoof almost instantly began panicking, thinking that he had crossed a line. But before he could apologize, the friendly smile was back and a boisterous laugh was on the guard's lips.
Too true, Doc, too true.
The guard's pony took off his helmet and placed it on the ground next to him.
Hope you don't mind me getting a little more comfortable. That helmet always makes my ears itch.
Blue Leaf ran a hoof over the aforementioned appendages.
So, if I'm not in trouble and this isn't personal, then why are you here? If you don't mind me asking, of course.
Just got an interesting report from one of the scouting towers. Apparently Fluttershy brought us a rather interesting stray this time around.
The diminutive doctor snorted uncharacteristically.
That's one way to put it. That pony had the worst set of compound fractures I've ever seen. Never mind whatever magical ailment she has.
Magical ailment?
The guard asked inquisitively, leaning in slightly. Little Hoof leaned forward, his voice lowering slightly.
Get this. Her magic was black. I'm no expert, but that's gotta be bad. I mean, not even ponies that have black coats and black manes have black auras like that.
The stallion opened his mouth to continue, then closed it suddenly, shaking his head. Blue Leaf raised an eyebrow at that.
Go on, Doc. You seem like you were gonna say something more.
Well, this may sound like I'm jumping to conclusions, but the weirdest part was the fact that she didn't seem to feel any pain.
The doctor winced, imagining living with such a brutal injury.
What do you mean?
Her back leg was completely snapped in at least 2 places, and it would take a mountain of gems and half the staff to fix an injury like that. But it's not like she had that kind of money, so I just fixed her up with a brace that is usually reserved for paralysis victims or individuals who have lost a part of a limb. The strapping and activation of the brace is excruciating, but she never once made a peep.
The guard pony put his helmet on his lap and let his chin rest on it.
Not even a little bit? I mean, I've only ever broken my nose, and even then you can bet your bottom gem I still bitched and moaned when I had to get it back put into place.
I remember that. You ever get that drunk digger back for that?
Blue Leaf sighed.
I didn't have to. Poor bugger drank himself into an early grave shortly thereafter, but that's not why I'm here. Is there anything else you can tell me about this strange individual?
Well, only that she seems to be quite proficient in magic. She called on her magical senses and activated runes that usually take a professional a few minutes. She did it in a few seconds, and plus, I think that was her first time ever seeing those specific runes.
The doctor leaned back in his chair, studying the guard pony as he digested the information. After a few seconds, Blue Leaf sat up and put his helmet back on his head.
Well, thanks for the info, Doc. I gotta go talk to the higher-ups about this.
Blue Leaf hopped down from his chair and made his way to the door.
Wait, she isn't a threat, is she?
Little Hoof called out, a hint of worry in his voice.
Let's hope not, but if you see her again, let me or Steel know, alright?
Little Hoof nodded his head vigorously.
Of course.
Good morning, Doctor. Pleasant dreams.
Same to you.
Little Hoof called out after the retreating form of the guard. When the clip-clop of hooves once again receded down the hall, Little Hoof sighed.
I am so eating that cake I was saving.
With sugary delight fresh in his mind, Little Hoof began his journey home. Meanwhile, the other 2 beings were heading back into the twisted forest and into the jaws of an uncertain future. Though neither of them knew it, they were again being pushed down the path destiny had paved for them. All the while, the evening star burned in want, feeling though it was on the precipice of something either great or terrible. But only one thing was certain. Destiny was at work, and it was only a matter of time before it and its Earthbound host found out what the future had in store for it. Well, it was only a matter of time before they found out what Twilight is capable of, or at least part of it. And meanwhile, she's showing it off nonchalantly as if almost anyone can do it. Anywho, let's get on to our skillful donators. Top donators: TacoCat598, Peter Coulthard, J Tinman, Darkside, Gauntlet, and Only One Thing. Zar630, Strix, Raiden, Narwhals, Black Moonheart, Drake Lovedragon, Pastel Skies, Austin Rollin, CrazyKiller557, Stu Hex, Will, Daspo, Delta Omega, Jack Hedge, RuneScythe9852, Leslie Prickett, Anton Norman, Stephen Bingham, LineGod12, Best Twitch Bits, Jason Alvarado, Discord Defender, and many more awesome people. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and live life to the fullest.